Welcome to Jurassic Park 3 Minutes. We'll be discussing the second Jurassic Park sequel, 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And today we're back to discuss minute 34 of Jurassic Park 3. But before we get to that, David, you've been out and about with your camera.
I have, yes I have. It's fine. The ground is still frozen, but the snow has melted away. And so I used the chance to get out and get some pictures. I did one inspired by the kind of ending pan that we get from The Lost World, and a couple other little ones, little stuff to just show off here. I'll post them when the minute goes live. But yeah, the one for The Lost World, I kind of not satisfied with, and so I definitely think I'm going to be redoing that one when the ground softens up a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I've been meaning to grab some of these wonderful figures and get them outside into the me little ferns I've got in the garden. So
yeah, I finally got my Lost World ending pan. That one that I'd get for a while since I had the male T-Rex from Mattel that I wanted to recreate it.
Yep. Well, that's it. Now we've got the baby as well, the baby Rex, in toy form, and like the new one has a lot better chance and sort of scales a lot better than what the old Lost World baby did.
Yeah.
Nobody move a muscle.
Last week, Toy Fair, we seen a hint at the Brachiosaur, but we didn't see it at Toy Fair in the flesh, but now they've revealed the Brachiosaur in all its glory.
I'm really excited. It's I think it was Britt who said that on Twitter, or no, it was on Instagram, that said it wouldn't be on Toy Fair because it was an exclusive. But it's really exciting because this thing is huge. It makes the Indominus toy, which is huge, look like a mini collectible. This thing has got to be 3 feet tall.
Yeah, and we've talked before with Mattel, their scale. Yes, the Super Colossal doesn't fit that scale, but for the most part, the rest of the figures do. But seeing this Brachiosaur, seeing the Grant figure standing at its feet with the Dimorphodon capture Jeep there as well, just everything looks fantastic.
Oh, it looks so beautiful.
My only gripe is the fact they've got it displayed in front of a big set of Jurassic World gates that are sort of got that no, not battle damage, but they're weathered gates like it's an old set of gates. Like, give us some gates.
I don't have. There's been a bunch of people complaining about that. I'm like, just shut up and enjoy the Brachiosaur, the giant Brachiosaur in front of them.
yeah, that's it. Don't take away from the Brachiosaur itself. And yeah, it's fantastic. There's plenty of articulation there. It's got, I think there's 2 or 3 separate joints on the neck, so you could get it to pivot. It's going to be fantastic. I just hope the tail can lift and the back legs go back far enough so you can get the rear up and just sort of balance.
Yes.
On the 2 back legs and have the tail as sort of that back tripod leg just to hold it up.
Yeah, I mean the legs themselves aren't articulated, but it looks so cool because I mean the mouth moves. The mouth is articulated. It's got like you said, 2 or 3 points of articulation on the neck. And I'm just thinking about the box for this thing. Oh my god, this thing is massive. It's to scale with the human figures.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing that I've been dreaming about since 1994, since I could recognize dinosaurs.
Well, that's it. And sort of looking here at the Mosasaur, even with how that was in its box, you had the tail off it and the flippers off it stored in there separately. I don't think you could have this in the box and not have its legs or neck on it without all that sort of being in that open window at the front of the box to show off the sculpt. Yeah,
this thing is definitely going to have to... Some assembly is going to be required.
Yeah. Which could be to its detriment of trying to find them if the store's only going to put 4 or 5 of these on the shelves, because they are going to take up such a large space. They might be a little bit hard to find.
I was thinking the same thing, yeah. And that's my one big worry is that stores won't want to stock it because, I mean, the price point's only $50. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like it's going to be too expensive. But, I mean, just stocking it and putting it on shelves will be... stores, like, don't want items that take up too much room.
Yeah.
And so I'm afraid that they'll be like, they won't order enough for demand.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's whenever I only seen the Super Colossal Rex twice, and they were sort of up on top of shelves because there was no room on the actual shelf where the rest of the figures were for it. Because sort of like the space that box took up, you'd probably fit 10 to 15 of the Roarivores or something like that, which were $30 each. So you get a lot more sales off those smaller figures there than what you would two Super Colossal T-Rexes on the shelf. So, but if we can, yeah, it'll be definitely worth finding it. I'd hate to go online shopping for it because it's probably going to cost over $100 to ship just because of the size of the box.
I mean, the Spinosaurus, I'm remiss that I didn't pick it up when it was $40, and I could have. But at the same time, I mean, I'm not a huge Spinosaurus fan. Brachiosaurus, however, is my favorite herbivore in the Jurassic Park movies. So this will be, I will hunt it to the ends of the earth.
I don't think you'll have much of an issue finding it in stores over there.
I hope not.
You better not. I'm coming after you, Mattel.
I'm coming for blood. They drew first blood, not me. I'm gonna go Rambo after that Brachiosaurus.
Well, I got the little Rambo gizmo. You put him on his back, he can ride the Brachiosaur around.
Jack, say my name. Is my name Alan? Is my name Alan? You used to know me.
Alright, ready to get into minute 34.
Sure.
Alright. As we enter minute 33 of Jurassic Park 3, we've just seen the end of the video, and Paul assuring Amanda that Eric's alive. As we start on minute 34, Grant and Billy turn away and look back towards the parachute still hanging in the tree. Grant asks Billy, "You think you can fly one of those?" Billy looks at it for a moment, says maybe, if the sail's not torn. Grant suggests we should take it. If we see a plane, it'll be a good way to get attention. At the 18-second mark, as they try and pull the parachute free, Amanda and Paul walk over towards them, just as a bony skeleton of Ben comes swinging down and hits Amanda head on, and she immediately becomes entangled in the ropes. She screams loudly, trying to get herself free from the tanglement of ropes. Paul and Yudesky try and help, but she's a blizzering mess. By the 35-second mark, she's freed herself from the straps and begins running off in the jungle, disgusted and still screaming. At the 41-second mark, Grant points in the direction and says, "Get her back, Mr. Kirby." Paul looks at himself for a moment, then runs off after his ex-wife. Grant and Billy then start the vile job of removing Ben Hildebrandt from the parachute harness. At the 53-second mark, we cut to Amanda running through some large elephant grass. And as the minute ends, Paul's running behind trying to keep up, yelling her name. As we continue into minute 34, Paul's reassuring Amanda that Eric's still alive, but Grant and Billy sort of look at themselves for a minute and don't really think that that's the case, but they turn and walk back towards the parachute still hanging in the tree, and sort of both look at it for a moment, and Grant asks Billy, "Can you fly one of those?" And Billy replies, "Maybe if the sail isn't torn." I don't know why. And I suppose unless they got to the coast and found a cliff to jump off, I don't know why the suggestion would be there to be able to refly one.
Yeah, it seems kind of weird. I mean, I think they're kind of just looking for anything that would help them at this point, since they're kind of at a loss right now. So I think they grab it, and it's going to be more of a have it if you need it than need it and not have it, you know?
Yeah. But then you get sort of Grant's next line here as he walks towards it. He says, "Well, let's take it. If we spot a plane, we might be able to get their attention with it." So.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, it's big and red and white, so that thing kind of blowing up in one spot in a clearing would notify any plane that was flying overhead.
Yeah, and we'll get to it in a minute, and even next minute as well. Both the script and the novel have them just packing it away in a backpack, where the film's the only sort of spot where it's shown to be packed back into its proper parachute bag, so it can be redeployed. Especially when we see Billy rolling up later, it's really just being rolled up to put in a backpack to be used as a signal, something for a signal, and not actually to be used to redeploy, I suppose is the word to say. But it's almost like Grant knows they're going to be in the aviary, so they need the parachute in there.
Yeah, lack convenience.
Yeah, exactly. But Grant and Billy begin to pull on the parachute, trying to get it free, and you can hear some snapping of branches as it's starting to come loose. And by this time, Paul and Amanda have sort of come over behind them as well, and Amanda looks towards the parachute just as we get a cut to a skeleton swinging down towards the camera, and it sort of hits Amanda front on, and somehow missing Grant and Billy, who were standing in front of her moments ago. But Amanda becomes tangled in the lines, and she's screaming as she does, and tries to push it away, and Paul sort of tries to help her out. Udesky also tries to calm her down so they can untangle her from the lines.
This moment is kind of one of those one of the reasons why, like, Amanda kind of becomes just this known as the screaming woman, I guess you could say, among the fandom, just because, I mean, she's always just screaming maniacally over something in this movie, and this kind of is one of those moments where it all kind of culminates.
But I'm going to jump on her defense here, because she's just seen her boyfriend, or what she assumes is a boyfriend. She could have even assumed it was Eric for a start, until because it doesn't. You only get a quick couple of shots of the skeleton, and it doesn't look like it's got its legs below the knees, or maybe just that's the tattered rags of the pants. Again, if it's hanging in a tree, animals would have been picking this thing pretty clean. But if they're all birds, but because we also get a couple of quick cuts of its face as she's sort of tangled in the lines trying to get it free, and the skull sort of there jiggling with the jaw moving like it's laughing at her as well. But
it's almost comical. It almost reminds you of those Raiders of the Lost Ark, again taking inspiration from a previous Spielberg movie, where Marion gets caught in the antechamber with all the skeletons, and the skeleton the one skull just slowly kind of looks at her, turns to look at her, and then another one's got a snake coming out of it, and it's just so over the top, you know?
Yep.
I mean, I will admit I'd scream bloody murder if a skeleton came flying at me, but it's done in a way that it almost becomes comical.
And the whole time, like, Grant and Udesky are sitting there grabbing her, just trying to say, calm down, but yes, her being hysterical, and that's probably causing to get entangled up more in that, but I still reckon the reaction here is pretty justified.
Yeah.
And it's sort of surprising they didn't smell, like, even now, you can't hear the flies. Whenever we've seen a carcass or something on the islands before, you've had that buzzing of flies, and we do get the flies buzz in a minute once the sort of scene's over. But
yeah, I was gonna say because the flies do come up. When they pull the skeleton free from the straps there, that you can see Billy kind of wave his hand in front of his face and make a scowl, like the smell is really bad.
Yeah, and maybe if when they first come to the parachute, you could hear that drone of flies, then maybe it'd let you know that there was something dead there. Where here it's sort of set up for that bit of a jump scare moment. But she eventually gets free of it and starts running off in the jungle, and Grant points and says, "Get it back, Mr. Kirby." And Paul has a real look of disgust on his face here too, where he's sort of looking at the skeleton, then looking at Amanda running off, and sort of realises, oh, I better go and help her, and runs off to try and catch up to Amanda.
Yeah, he does look pretty freaked right here.
And then we cut back as Grant's releasing the body from the harness and falls to the ground. As you said before, we then get the sound of the flies buzzing as they wave their hands in front of their face, sort of as the smells begin to envelop him. And then we cut to Billy not so liking the smell as the flies continue to buzz around. But as the minute ends, we cut to Amanda running through the ferns behind Paul's trying to catch up, calling her name again. So not an overlord happened in this minute, but back to Ben's body here. I know there's been a lot of fan theories the Dilophosaur got him and stuff like this as to why he's died. And like last minute we discussed with that video how he sounded injured, possibly internal injuries and a broken rib or something from coming through the canopy of trees. But
if you look at the prop itself, the quote-unquote meat hanging off the bone, it almost looks like it's a styrofoam Halloween prop. I honestly have probably seen gorier fake skeletons at, like, Party City.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I understand it's a PG-13 movie, but, I mean, come on, you can go a little bit better than that, right?
Well, I suppose apart from Arnold's arm, we don't normally see a lot of the kills. It's either implied or dark, off-screen. To see this sort of body here, and even when we get to the aviary later with the skeleton there, that
I mean, even that skeleton seems kind of gnarlier.
yeah,
And it kind of has like this nasty, rotted look to it. This one looks like a styrofoam prop. It does.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be 8 weeks. 8 weeks it's been here, the environment. If it was hooked up in branches, maybe, I'm sure compies would have got up to it, but birds, ravens or whatever else, you'd think there'd be a population of them on the island to sort of pick over the skeleton, but because it is sort of still in its harness, and I don't think any large predators have been through here and found it. Otherwise it'd be a completely different sort of setup. The parachute would be out of the tree and there'd be stuff everywhere. I don't think there's really anything else to discuss on how he thought he died. You could throw all sorts of different fan theories at the wall and see if something sticks, but I think the fact that the script and the junior novelisation both say that he sort of got some internal injuries and sort of hurt himself coming in.
I mean, that is probably the most likely. One of my personal favorite fan theories, though, is that the raptors got at him because he's right outside the raptor nest territory, as we'll find out next week.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, somehow I thought that the Spinosaurus had, like, sucked the flesh off of him, like a chicken ball, like a chicken wing. like he just stuck him in his mouth and just shredded the flesh off of him. I don't know why I thought that, but I did.
Yeah, it does sort of ask some questions. Okay, even with internal injuries, you could sort of survive a little bit longer. Why he never got out of the harness? Why his body wasn't just leaning up against a tree somewhere? I think it gets even worse later when we don't even get a single reference to it by Eric at all, which is a shame.
Yeah, you'd think that he'd be pretty traumatized.
Considering that morning or the day before they were throwing a